Hey guys, I wanted to make a video here comparing the Nexus 5 with and without the Moto X Dalvik patch. Now this came from the Moto X's 4.4 Android release, so this patch includes the Qualcomm Dalvik optimized libraries, and this should help performance, but we'll have to wait and see. Now it is going to improve the benchmarks by quite a bit, stuff like Antutu and Quadrant should go up, but whether or not it's any real world difference, that's what we want to find out here. It is stock ROM, it is stock kernel, and yeah, here we go. So we'll start off with some app opening speed tests, and if you're wondering, no, I don't have two Nexus 5s. This is one Nexus 5. I had to run the test all the way through on Dalvik first, and then I had to flash the patch and do it all on the Qualcomm optimized Dalvik, and then I had to link it up in the edit when I was actually making the video. So be aware that while I did take a lot of care and effort in the edit to try and make these as accurate as possible, it's not exactly scientific and it doesn't really prove or disprove anything. But what you can see right now is they're pretty much neck and neck. Sometimes Dalvik's getting there first, sometimes the Qualcomm optimized Dalvik is getting there first, but there really isn't a major difference between the two. You'll see YouTube here loads up quite quickly on Dalvik optimized, but that could just be a network difference. Opening apps seems to be pretty much the same on both, if I'm being completely honest. You can see the camera test here, again, pretty much neck and neck. No major differences. Now, in my previous video when I tested out Dalvik versus Art runtime, Art definitely took a lead when loading up a game and loading up a level. Now, I'm not seeing that same difference here with Qualcomm optimized Dalvik. It loaded up the app pretty much at the same time, and we're loading up the level right now, and you should see in a few seconds or so that it's going to pretty much load again at the same time. So not as big a difference here as we saw with Art, and really there's not a major difference so far with Dalvik versus Qualcomm optimized Dalvik, at least not that I can see. So we're loading up Nova 3 right now, and it looks like Qualcomm optimized Dalvik is ever so slightly in front, but again, that could be pretty much anything right now. It could just be slightly down to me with pressing one slightly before the other one. We'll load up a level here, and Nova 3 is a little bit difficult. It doesn't kind of load to a natural point where you can easily see that it's done. So what we're looking for is the continue button underneath the text. So let's see when it appears. And there it is, and that was pretty much exactly the same time. So in terms of the real world test, there really wasn't that much difference between Dalvik and Qualcomm optimized Dalvik. We're going to run a few benchmarks here and see if there's any difference, but real world performance tests, at least the ones I did, I really didn't see any major differences between the two. Now we're running Quadrant right here, and you can definitely see that Qualcomm optimized Dalvik has taken a lead over the Dalvik test, but let's wait for the results to see what happens. Qualcomm optimized Dalvik finishes first and scores 20,570. Dalvik scores 8,630. So a massive difference here. And just check out those CPU and memory scores on the Qualcomm optimized Dalvik versus the normal Dalvik. What's really interesting is we're not seeing this big a difference between the two in terms of real world performance. Next up we got Antutu, and the way I actually did these tests is I gave them 5 minutes to cool down between each benchmark, so there shouldn't be any thermal throttling. We'll speed through this as Antutu is quite a long test, but you could already see Qualcomm optimized Dalvik is in front of the normal Dalvik, so there is something going on here. Qualcomm optimized Dalvik finishes first and scores around 34,500, just under the Galaxy Note 3. Dalvik finishes up and scores 28,900, so a pretty big difference there. You can see the individual scores right here. So you'll notice the increased scores in multitask, Dalvik and CPU float point, which is actually kind of interesting. It's not like I/O scores which can be easily manipulated. I also noticed a difference in the 3D graphics score on the Qualcomm optimized Dalvik, but this could just be a normal variation in benchmarks. That easily happens. Sometimes I score 9,000 on Dalvik. This time I only scored around 8,000, so that could just be a normal variable. Nonetheless, it is interesting to see because Antutu is more accurate than something like Quadrant, and the optimized Dalvik is definitely scoring quite a bit higher than the Dalvik test here. I also ran a Valermo benchmark on both, and this is a user experience benchmark. It tests out HTML5, and you can see it scores pretty much identically on both. I also ran the Epic Citadel GPU test to see if there was any difference in the GPU performance between these two, and you can see from the results they scored exactly the same, 54.8 FPS on both. This was using the ultra high quality performance level and running at full resolution. So yeah, there you go. You can see the main differences are definitely in the Quadrant and Antutu benchmarks. Other than that, they're actually very similar. I haven't seen any differences in the real world performance. If you're someone that loves to benchmark and wants to get the highest scores and show that off, then yeah, this is going to be a great patch for you. If you're looking to flash this patch and see a major difference in the performance, I don't think that's going to happen, but by no means is this video scientific. Maybe you guys are feeling a difference that I'm not feeling. I have used the patch, I have used without the patch, and honestly, I can't tell a difference. If you put them both in front of me without running any benchmarks, I don't think I'd be able to tell. So yeah, peace out.